The fact that we are in this space, this nationally recognized civic space, that the bricks and mortar in and of itself have so much history, that just walking to the rotunda, in some sense, there's a sense of sacredness. There's something important that happened here, and that we now have the Jewish story, which really is a universal story, in a space that is now a universal space, I think brings a kind of gravitas and wholeness to the experience that for any other center that's on its own cannot be replicated.
When you walk into the staircase and you see the real live documents that we have blown up and made bigger and accessible, it brings you in immediately.
We want to make it an element of discovery for the visitor. Things will unfold. Layer after layer will come out, and there'll be a sense of drama in learning the story. But as it unfolds, the story becomes more and more complex, more and more layered. And we use the voices of Cincinnati people and of the Cincinnati experience to give it a flavor that is local and unique to the city.
We were walking the city inspectors through yesterday, and it was really the first time that they were able to start to see some of the exhibits go in, and it's powerful.
People believe that they've heard the story, but I think until they hear the personal stories and spend more time seeing the individual faces and the testimony, I think that's the most powerful thing about this exhibit, and I would like to think that's what will move people the most.
I think the partnership with the Holocaust and Humanities Center and Cincinnati Museum Center really flourished when we were doing the unlocking of the gates of Auschwitz 70 years later.
We discovered 5 years ago with an exhibition at the Freedom Center that Cincinnati had an interest in the story, that it fit into the ethos of the city, that people were committed to learning, and that if we told the story well, they would visit.
You'd worked with us on mapping our tiers and other projects, and so it was an ideal conversation to get started.
I think it was actually at Dick Weiland's home. He had convened some gathering, and we were talking about our collaboration and those needs. And then the idea that you were just about to be under renovation, I think, at the time. We were beginning a strategic plan and looking at new opportunities for space and wanted to grow.
It became clear we were going to have to come up with a new place to locate the center. And it's more than a real estate or location question. It's sort of it can be a mission question. I think it was Churchill said, we make our buildings once and thereafter they make us. And so where we located was going to have an impact on the type of work we did, not just where we did it, but the type of work, who we could reach, and what we would be able to achieve in the next decade and century of the center.
For me personally, and I don't know if this is the case for the entire board, but one of the concerns was, how much could we raise in a capital campaign, and not knowing for sure where we would be able to go. How does that guide us in terms of what we could potentially do? One of the strongest elements of the center is that you have this coupling of this remarkable professional staff and I've been on several boards. The board is just a group of people unrivaled. And so ultimately good things emerge.
It's very rare that you can share a passion and have that high level energy going. With a group of people, you're sharing that with a group of people.
Well, we're really fortunate in that we had extraordinary leaders who made an extraordinary gift, and that's Nancy and David Wolf. And by virtue of them having made that gift, they not only jump-started our campaign, they in many respects jump-started the community, and where they said to us, come follow us.
We've always had a desire to do something and speak out. And suddenly, our need was met with an opportunity that was presented by Sarah with an idea that she and the Holocaust Museum had. It just seemed like a good fit. We thought we could add some value, and therefore we decided to get involved.
I think of the chain being as strong as its weakest link. And I feel like to get to this point, we really couldn't have any weak links. The professional staff, the board, the exhibit team, the capital campaign, every single piece of that puzzle really did a great job. And all the while that this is going on, the center had to keep running. And so we really had to work together. And so it was really neat to see, hey, we're gonna work this as a team. Watching that process come to fruition is really rewarding.
This project has been incredibly rewarding and incredibly complex all at the same time. There's always the challenge of how do you tell the story, right? How do you ensure that you're honoring the stories of survivors, of eyewitnesses, of community members who have been willing to entrust us with their memories, with their treasures?
I think the most unique aspect is that we are putting the local narratives first. And that is really our jumping off point from starting with a person's name and their story and working backwards to interweave the history and kind of the larger picture of the time period.
How do you develop from the story of the Holocaust a link to our common humanity? How do you do so in a way that doesn't degrade the story of the Holocaust, doesn't trivialize its implications, but also builds off precisely what we discover in the Holocaust to shape human values, values such as courage and human dignity, such as decency, such as the sense of the upstander, the people who had the capacity and the willingness to act despite dangers.
It was always, I think we always felt like people really wanted to tell the story in the way the story needs to be told, but also in the way that people could move through that experience and conceive of a way that they came out with some sense of hope.
This is authentic space. We're the only Holocaust museum in the United States that has positive, authentic space in which this is where the survivors who came to settle in Cincinnati or come through Cincinnati, this is the terminal, this is the building that they had their first exposure to Cincinnati. We are taking care of the mission that was set forth by the people who came through this building, and that we're honoring their legacy by having it in this space.
I'm most excited that this museum has the opportunity to not only talk about the past, but the present and challenge us in the future as well.
You might not be the most courageous person, but you can still be an upstander. And that is what the museum is trying to help teach people.
I think we thought we understood the complexity and what the opportunities were, what the challenges would be. But once we got into it, there were so many more.
I think one of the most surprising things was just how difficult it is to, to bring it all together, from conception to installation and opening. There's so many different pieces that have to be put together in just the perfect way.
Partnering with our exhibit design team, we worked with Barenbaum Jacobs Associates and Jack Rouse Associates. It was kind of a unique thing that we did. We asked two design firms to come together and share, on one hand, the content expertise, on the other hand, the expertise in project management and building a museum.
We met together on film calls often and many times and developed the content together.
We benefited from the fact that Mike Myers had worked in this building and knew the building as it unfolded.
I worked at this building 26 years ago, and it was complicated then, and it's complicated now. And I'm sure everyone from Turner Construction has told you that, and they were fantastic to work with to get the systems in the building rearranged to fit our space and our needs.
Really within this space, one of the toughest challenges was there's so much of the main building mechanical systems running through the space. The exhibits are something that, it's one thing to see them on paper, but then once you see them develop into reality, maybe something doesn't quite fit right where it should. It wants to be modified and removed this way. So there's a lot of, kind of last minute adjustments.
Museum designers are dependent upon museum builders. We give them the plans, and then we're radically dependent upon them to bring it into texture, into form.
There are scripted pauses in all the mechanical activity. Something opens to a dialogue box or some video content, and there has to be an allowance for the viewer to experience that. And the timing is as important as the actual mechanical operation.
I think my students in class will have the opportunity to engage on a deeper level into the history. They have the opportunity to see testimonies and to look at artifacts, but also to engage in a little bit more of the interactive nature of the exhibits.
This is the kind of the lobby area, and this is the mural that we created. If people are here, kind of, they've gotten their ticket, they're, waiting to experience the museum. What impact, what kind of precursor could we tell them about what they're about to experience?
The mural when you first walk in looks like a comic book, and that's not something students would expect to see when you're talking about the Holocaust. The interactive features are going to appeal to them, where they can look inside of things and see pictures and videos.
When you're confronted with this content, it's impossible to not be moved and realize how important it is to tell this story.
It's incredible to think of the journey that the Nancy and David Wolf Holocaust and Humanities Center has made. When I think about the survivors who founded the center and just wanted to ensure that people would learn from their stories and their experiences, and that their stories would be a warning to future generations.
So many of the survivors have always said that what they want more than anything else is for the lessons of their story to not be forgotten. So we as an organization have to sort of meet people where they are, and considering that they are in so many different places, that's a challenge. But I hope that what they take away is really dependent on what they brought in. So if they had a little awareness, maybe they take away a curiosity. If they had a little understanding, they take away a knowledge. If they came in with knowledge and we can give them some wisdom, that's the best we can hope for that way.
I hope that especially our children and grandchildren will learn about the Holocaust and speak out and stand up if anti-Semitism or any hatred or discrimination of any kind is expressed.
In our world today, the idea that human beings can make a difference and must make a difference, and not the other guy, but you and me, is an essential lesson. And I hope they will find their commitment to human dignity and human decency enlarged, and the notion of human responsibility and human conscience enhanced.
To have people leaving understanding that they have tools, concrete tools that reside within them that they can grab hold of, and as they leave and go out into their lives now, can activate those, and that by activating those, it will tend to motivate others to do the same, and will build a more positive, strong world that will help fulfill the human promise